Yo, what's going on guys? It's Anime One back here with another video, and today we're going to be discussing what if Naruto was taken by Jiraiya for 3 years, part 12 of the story. So if you guys like the story and the content in the channel, please subscribe to the channel and also like this video. So let's begin the video. Naruto's clone was face to face with Itachi Uchiha. Shit, I never thought I would have to meet Itachi Uchiha of all people here, the clone thought as he diverted his eyes from the Sharingan to Itachi's forehead. He carefully kept his blank face of any emotions. To think that this boy contains the QB. A voice came from beside Itachi. A very distinct figure came into view. This man was taller than Jiraiya. He was obviously blue-skinned and Sark-like features, such as facial markings and resemblance of his skills. He also was carrying a very large band-aid blade. His clothes matched that of Itachi's, a long black cloak with red clouds on them. He was also wearing a slashed kiwi headband, making him a missing ninja. Naruto-kun, you're coming with us, Itachi said in a monotone voice as he gazed right at his target. He was not expecting Naruto to look like this at all. No, he wasn't talking about how he gazed at a literal copy of the fourth Hokage. He was talking about Naruto's stature. He was expecting a genin, or maximum a chunin, of 12 or 13 years old. Naruto looked like he was almost 15, not a genin at all. Instead, Naruto's posture did not portray any fear or anxiety one might have while facing S-rank criminals. He was smart, for immediately averted his eyes to his forehead. The posture was straight and very carefully guarded. Itachi might have thought that he was relaxed, even if he was barely noticeable, tensing of shoulders and subsequent clenching of fists. Naruto stared at Itachi. "Why?" Naruto said. "Let's go outside the room," Itachi opted to say. He watched in silence as Naruto approved and carefully stepped out of the room, keeping his eyes on Kisame. He had to stand in front of them, keeping his eyes fell at Itachi's feet and hands at his side. Naruto had no intention of running. For Prime, he should be here any moment now. His job was only to distract, so he began talking. "Why do I have the honor to meet Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki, former 7 ninja of the swordsman?" Naruto said. If Itachi was shocked, he didn't show it because he was damn good at hiding his emotions. People found blank walls easier to read than his mind. Kisame, however, grinned. "You are a smart one, aren't ya?" Naruto just folded his hands across his chest and gave the Sark man a dry look. "I don't need to be smart to label as you one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Your giant sword gives it away, not to mention the slashed headband." Kisame turned to Itachi. "Itachi-san, it would be a bother to us if these kids keep moving around. Perhaps I should cut his legs off." "I dare you to, Kisame," Naruto said with a smirk. Kisame chuckled and slowly moved forward, clutching his handle of his sword. "Your bravado is amusing, but you must be a fool if you think you can stand against me and win." Itachi watched as Kisame closed on to Naruto. Something was wrong here, he thought. He looked at Naruto. He wouldn't be making a move anytime soon. He was relaxed, too relaxed. "Move, Kisame!" The command was spoken softly, but it carried power and urgency. Kisame heard it and barely moved in time for Naruto to glow and explode with a bang, blasting the walls and any area around them. Meanwhile, the Naruto that was outside heard the bang and smirked from his position outside the window of the corridor. The explosion was something that he hadn't taken into account, but it wasn't a bad idea either. The clone's job was only to distract the newcomers, but this works as well. A good thing was the entire floor was empty. Itachi and Kisame stared at the spot where the clone used to be. Exploding shadow clones, Itachi whispered in slightest wonder. It looks like Naruto was smarter than he previously thought, and very perceptive too. He had known the danger of them and had a shadow clone answer in his place. They had been talking to a shadow clone all this time. Kisame grunted in irritation as he looked at his slightly burned hand. It had been way too close. Looks like the Jinchuriki is going to be more trouble than we thought, he muttered as he healed the burn with his chakra. Hachi, on the other hand, was thinking, this could mean Naruto was obviously not here. He was out and had left the shadow clone in his place to keep guard. That, or Naruto had somehow known they were here and had gone to call Jiraiya, but they both jumped in a bit of sideways, letting yellow bolts of lightning pass right between them and collapse to the wall on the end of the corridor to splinters. Itachi and Kisame turned their heads to see the real Naruto standing behind them, right hand extended and other holding his sword. Naruto smirked as he looked at them, more like it was a look on Kisame's face. Itachi was as blank as ever. Kisame was baring his sharp teeth in annoyance. I can't believe you fell for that. Apparently Kisame did not like the mock at all. So one second he was standing beside Itachi, and the other he was right in front of Naruto's personal space, sword ready to cut him. The power behind the strike was enough to shatter a piece of wall behind him, and would have sliced Naruto in half. Kisame did not know the danger senses of Naruto possessed, nor a slower perception it granted Naruto. The danger sense rang loudly, and the world had slowed down for Naruto as soon as Kisame had taken a step towards him. Naruto watched it in slow motion as Kisame flew towards him. He would have to give credit to the guy. He was almost as fast as Kakashi with that huge blade. So he was right in front of Naruto in only a second. Oh, and neither Itachi or Kisame knew of the marking that Naruto had put on the other end of the corridor just as a safety precaution. Kisame shattered the part of the wall in front of him with Samehada, intended to cut off the legs of the brat so he couldn't move anymore. But to his shock, he wasn't even standing there in front of him anymore. Over here, Kisame whirled around to see Naruto nonchalantly leaning against the wall on the opposite end of the corridor. Even Itachi couldn't conceal his surprise as his eyes were wide as well. Kisame's widened eyes reflected his thoughts clearly. How did he move so fast? I didn't even see him move. Itachi's thoughts were a bit more calculated than his partner's. While it was much easier to cut off Naruto's leg, it would have certainly made their job easier. He had thought that Kisame had gotten to Naruto with that strike, but he had dodged it. Not only that, but it looked like he barely put an effort into it. Even with the Sharingan, he hadn't been able to track Naruto's movement, and that was speaking something since the Sharingan was the highest level of evolution. That was the speed Naruto had so nonchalantly pulled off. All he had seen was a tiny, almost unnoticeable flash of yellow. It was almost like he had teleported. Itachi's train of thought was brought to a sudden stop. Surely not. He cannot have mastered that jutsu. There's no way. Kisame slowly walked back to where Itachi was standing, his face clearly cleared from shock from earlier. He moved to see the look on Itachi's face that he hadn't seen the boy move. He slowly grinned in excitement. This might be challenging after all. But before he could do anything, Itachi spoke. It's been a long time, Sasuke. Naruto may have acted playfully on the outside, but inside he was all serious. That sword, he had felt as if it wasn't just taking his life. There was some sort of pull in that sword, but Naruto had flashed away before he could make any contact. Seemingly, he could take chakra from his opponents. Also, Jiraiya should have reached here by now. He had caused two explosions, enough for Jiraiya to come here fast as he could. He had activated his sensing, and he was sensing Jiraiya coming closer at a fast pace. However, he sensed another person that caused a pit to form in his stomach. Why the hell was he here? It's been a long time, Sasuke. Naruto was with narrowed eyes as he and a small hint of annoyance as he noticed Sasuke standing right behind the two missing ninjas. Kisame turned around to glance at the newcomer as well. Who? Itachi Uchiha. I could see that the rage was beginning to cloud Sasuke, as any senses of rationality seemed to leave him as soon as he caught the sight of Itachi. He frowned. There was no way Sasuke was ready to take on Itachi, an S-rank mission ninja at his current power. Even Naruto knew that he would only last a minute or two, after which the ex-Anbu captain would finish him off. Flying Thunder God, or no. Sasuke, control yourself. You cannot beat him. Even Naruto knew it was wrong to say a thing, but frankly, he had nothing else to say that could stop Sasuke at this point. He could only hope Sasuke would regain some of his rationality. Stay out of this, Naruto. He watched with wide eyes what happened next. Sasuke screamed in utter fury rage, unlike anything Naruto had seen ever before. It was as if Sasuke was screaming his soul out, willing that Itachi burst into flames on the very spot. He watched as Sasuke sprint towards Itachi, the latter's complete lack of caring that his was running towards him with his lightning blade aimed at his heart. Naruto slowly fell into a stance as Itachi grabbed Sasuke's wrist, seemingly without even trying, and redirected the Raikiri's power towards the side, causing the third explosion in the hallway. Sasuke struggled to get out of Itachi's hold as the power of his jutsu died down. Naruto waited his options. He couldn't use a jutsu, for there was a very low chance that he wouldn't hit Sasuke. Oh well, no one ever said things could be solved with jutsus. Each shuriken went sailing across the air, approaching the enemy shinobi with deadly accuracy. Kisame just snorted and used his large sword to simply bat away the shuriken. Itachi glanced at Naruto for the attack, and Sasuke took a stance once more to attack his brother. Why you're annoying. Statement was stated so dismissively that Naruto felt that Itachi was simply dealing with an annoying housefly, not even a person hell-bent on killing him. Also, following the statement was clean, snapping Sasuke's wrist, breaking it. Naruto sighed in annoyance as Sasuke screamed in pain and bent over, clutching his broken wrist. Kisame ran forward, intending to land another strike on Naruto. Naruto brought his sword up, ready to dodge or block. Before he could do either of them, smoke burst in front of him as a sword appeared, blocking the sword with a forearm limb guard. Naruto did not drop his guard as he spoke to his savior. You sure took your sweet time coming here, Sensei. Jiraiya arrived on the scene from the window on Naruto's end of the corridor. One leg propped up on the sill while the other was flat on the ground, carrying an unconscious woman, the same woman that Naruto had seen earlier. He muttered in annoyance, "You couldn't have left her in her room or something." "It did though, didn't it?" Naruto whispered to the old man, only to receive a harsh nudge to his ribs. He wisely backed off, opting to let Jiraiya handle this. However, he was surprised when Jiraiya was about to engage the two. Sasuke got up and snarled at the two. Itachi is mine. He sought forward to try and catch his brother off guard. Of course, like the time before that, his ass was handed right back to him. Naruto was with an impassive gaze, as Sasuke was abused like nobody's business, with Itachi not holding back on him at all. Kisame watched this and grinned. You don't seem to be too concerned about your friend, Naruto said. Naruto tried to bite back the instinctual response that it was Sasuke's own stupidity that he was being beaten like that. Did he really think he was as strong as a Sanin, who were among the only few people in the world that could match Itachi? Instead, he replied, "Oh, I'm concerned, alright. It's just that I don't wear my heart on sleeves like that impulsive idiot." Foolish little brother. Itachi's voice might have been monotone and uncaring, but there was no mistaking that he scorned Sasuke at that moment. You don't have enough hate. You are pathetically weak. Perhaps you need something to repress your purpose in life. Naruto was with considerable amount of concern as Sasuke suddenly started to scream like there was no tomorrow. Kisame only chuckled without any sort of mercy. As cruel as ever, huh? It seems like he used the Tsukuyomi on his little brother. Naruto was about to act when Jiraiya raced through hand signs beside him, slamming his hands onto the ground. Naruto was in wonder as the entire hallway transformed. No, got covered in some sort of fleshy substance. He watched as the flesh wrapped around Kisame's feet, causing the giant man to curse. Jiraiya smirked. Ninja art. Toad mouth trap. You two will make good food for the giant fire-breathing rock frog. As he said it, fleshy tendrils erupted from the flesh and moved towards the cloaked nin to ensnare them. Naruto whistled in appreciation at the offensive and defensive powerful of the technique. It was not capable of attacking whatever was inside it, but protecting as well. Evaded from the way Sasuke got swallowed behind a wall of flesh. Neither of them saw Itachi close his eyes. Both of them felt the explosion that rocked the hallway. The fourth one today? Naruto absently nodded as he ran around the corner with Jiraiya. His eyes went wide in surprise. Jiraiya cursed in shock. Somehow they were able to burn through the organ of a frog that breathes fire, he realized. Fascinating, Naruto muttered as he observed the black flame, keeping his distance. He never had seen black flames before in his entire life. As far as he knew, white flames were the hottest, followed by blue and yellow flames. He observed another interesting thing. Unlike regular fire, this one kept on burning without showing any signs of extinguish. Suddenly remembered that Sasuke was attacked by an S-rank missing nin. He turned and headed towards the spot where Sasuke was buried within the guts, leaving Jiraiya to seal the flames in a scroll. After sealing the black flames, he cancelled the full frog mouth jutsu with a heavy sigh. He returned to where Naruto was sitting before the Uchiha, seemingly examining him. The aforementioned Uchiha was pale, giving an absent look to the wall in front of him. It was as if he was asleep and conscious at the same time. Wow, he really didn't hold back on you at all, it seems. Naruto muttered in slight concern as his hand slightly brushed over Sasuke's chest area. The flinch told him all he needed to know. He lifted Sasuke's shirt, observing the impressive bruises forming on the boy's stomach and ribs. If what he heard was correct, take small breaths. You don't want to aggravate your possibly broken ribs, Naruto advised them as he closely observed the pupils in Sasuke's eyes. With a sigh, he stood up. Okay, this is how it. He was suddenly cut off when a kunai blazed past him, launching itself into the wall. He was in amusement as Jiraiya's face met a blues ninja sandal. The falling body screamed out, "Dynamic entry!" "Damn it, guy. What's wrong with you?" Jiraiya growled, rubbing his face to try to take away the sting. Guy whittled a little. "Apologies, Jiraiya-sama," Guy shouted. Naruto reflected absently that all the man ever did was shouted. "I had to come and retrieve Sasuke-kun, but it seems like I mistook you for an enemy." He looked a little sheepish, rubbing the back of his head and sweating slightly under Jiraiya's glare. "Whatever. Did you come here to take the Uchiha, right? Get the kid and go already. He needs to get that wrist looked at," Jiraiya said with a wave of his hand. "Well, that's not the wrist. Itachi put him in a genjutsu, and from my guess, he won't wake up for a while," Naruto said as Guy nodded and went off with Sasuke.